I'm Alicia.
And I'm Maddie.
And welcome to the Fangirl Diaries, a podcast where we talk about our obsessions,
Reminisce about our teen icons,
and explore the books, movies, and shows that made us the incredibly nerdy 30-somethings that we now are.
Hey, Alicia!
Merry Christmas!
Yeah, this is our, kind of our last episode of the year, probably, our last main episode. We're all feeling Christmassy.
That's wild to me. It is literally December. The lights on Maddie's house are very impressive.
Yeah.
There's strong Christmas lights game going on from Madeline's house.
And we're going to be talking about something that for some reason feels Christmassy, even though it doesn't explicitly include Christmas.
Although we did realise that the 2004 film version was released at Christmas.
Yeah, and
Which
it's
might
all
have something to do with
dark and moody and,
No, it is Christmassy.
It's Christmassy.
When we were thinking about what to do as our Christmas episode, we both unanimously agreed that, what are we doing?
We're going to be talking about The Phantom of the Opera.
The Phantom of the Opera! And it's Christmassy.
Yeah.
It just is. It just is. If you've not seen it, it is. It's Christmassy.
The vibe is Christmassy.
The vibe is Christmassy.
Vibe is Christmassy. So we're going to be talking about Phantom of the Opera, the 1986 musical written by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
It's so old. Can I just say, we should say for the record that this musical is a lot older than either Maddie or I.
Oh, yeah. It's before our time, and yet still feels like current.
Is this the first podcast content that we have dealt with that predates our year of birth?
Oh, good question. As far as I can remember.
So I guess no, because the source material predates. So the original book and the Andrew Lloyd Webber show predate you and I being born in the 90s. However, we are going to talk about the film.
Yeah,
that was
sure.
a contemporary thing of ours.
Yeah.
But last week we were talking about Lord of the Rings, and I guess that technically predates.
Yeah, totally.
Us.
The original book is similar. The original was predating, but the way we experienced it was still as it was coming out. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, 1986.
1986 musical, written by Andrew Lloyd Webber with lyrics by Charles Hart, but it is based on the 1910 novel of the same name by Gaston Leroux, and it tells the story of the mysterious opera ghost who haunts the Paris Opera House, and his obsession with the beautiful soprano Christine Daae. So it was the longest running show on Broadway until it closed only this year. So it has been super successful. And it's still the second longest running show on the West End, only behind Les Mis. And it's been on for 37 years and counting.
Blimey.
And it won both the Olivier and Tony Awards for Best Musical. So it's not just a kind of popular hit, it's also a kind of critical hit.
Yep. And this is how you realise that Andrew Lloyd Webber, or Lord Lloyd Webber, is as wealthy as he is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got a list of these. Phantom might be his biggest one, but it's not the only one that's up there.
I was just going to say, I wonder if Phantom is the musical that is synonymous with Andrew Lloyd Webber, but maybe not, actually.
It may not be most synonymous, but it's certainly the one that's made him the most money.
Yeah, and in a pub quiz, if you had to list... If you gave the everyman the task of listing 3 Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals, they'd probably list this one first or second.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then Cats or something.
Yeah.
But is it your favourite one of his, Madeline?
Oh, no. My favourite's Jesus Christ Superstar.
I think this is my favourite Andrew Lloyd Webber musical.
I mean, it's a good choice.
And it's tough. It's tough out there. The list, it's a strong list.
Yeah, but that's more about I think the cohesiveness of Phantom is so good. It's definitely his even though it is quintessentially Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's done well enough that it has its own style and its own... It doesn't feel like every song you're hearing is just oh yeah, that's another Andrew Lloyd Webber song. It's it sounds like The Phantom, and it's really well put together.
That's right, actually, in a way that sometimes Joseph or Starlight Express, or, I hate to say it, but Jesus Christ Superstar sometimes have that Andrew Lloyd Webber stamp on them. This does feel it's in a slightly more elevated zone. But maybe before we dive into it, it is interesting. I wonder whether a lot of people will be surprised by the and brace yourselves, people, there's more coming, the excessive musicals content that we're going to have on this podcast. Because most people would think that we would talk about, and we do, books and films and TV shows. But we love musicals.
Yeah. Musicals fall into their like own genre for us just as much as any of those other genres.
We love them. I think if there was just no way that we would be able to like cover everything in just an episode called like musicals.
No.
No.
It's a whole genre. And I think that's why when people say, oh, they don't like musicals, I think, well, that's probably because you've seen or heard songs from like some of the most obvious, biggest ones and haven't actually kind of, I mean, there's such a huge range. It's to me, it's like a whole genre itself. You can have sad ones, happy ones, deep ones, silly ones, like
rock operas, rap musicals.
Exactly.
You can have absolutely. You can't just blanket like or dislike. Even you and I, who love musicals, have one or two that we would blacklist.
Yeah, to me, it would be literally like saying I don't like films, which some people do, but it's a weird thing to say. And that's kind of how I hear it when I say like, I don't like musicals.
Yeah, there's too vast a selection for anyone just to blanket rule them out.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Phantom is one of the ones that I try and induct the people who sometimes say, oh, I don't like musicals. I'm like, well, let's try this one and see how you feel.
So when you're inducting, are you, so how did you first experience it? Are you inducting people in the same way that you first experienced Phantom?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I have the DVD.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, or whatever, it's on streaming of some kind. Like, I don't know, whoever it is I'm probably trying to introduce to it may not have a DVD player. But no, I saw the film, the 2004 Joel Schumacher film, as my first experience of this musical. We'd never been to see it at the theatre. I think also because seeing, and it's the same today, seeing a musical at the theatre, especially when you're effectively still a child, was so expensive.
Yeah, you had to be sure you
West End.
really, really wanted to see that thing.
Yeah.
And we were probably, too young. Our parents wouldn't have taken us to Phantom of the Opera. It's
No.
No, I had the same experience and seeing the film was my first way into it. It was much more accessible.
Oh, definitely. We could go to like View Cinemas Croydon for, as we've discussed before, something like £4 or whatever. But I do remember the trailer, and I remember that it was immediately something I knew I wanted to watch. So this wasn't a film that I accidentally, tripped and fell and went to see. This was something that I had planned to go and watch. And it is super Christmassy. It came out on the 22nd of December in 2004. But I think I went in the January, just because, Christmas is super busy. And then arrived back at school that sort of spring term, fully ready.
Do you think we saw it together?
No, I don't think
so.
we did.
Did you see it with family?
No, I saw it with like Amira and Alex and everybody.
Oh, okay.
So who I'm not sure enjoyed it as much as I did. It was one of those ones where I came out of the cinema thinking, well, I'll be going back again for the 7:00 performance. And I saw it 3 times. We probably did go, actually.
At some point we would have gone together.
I'm sure we did.
Yeah.
It was one of my most rewatched. Now you don't go to the cinema 3 times because it's like £20 and a drink is $9.99.
And it's going to be on some streaming service in a year anyway, and you'll just see it then. And it's not really,
Whereas I wanted to luxuriate in the Phantom of the Opera movie experience just as much, because it does suit the big screen.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so seductive as a film experience. And I definitely went at least 3 times. I loved it. I was obsessed with it.
It's
Absolutely
really rich. I think the thing that I remember really vividly is just the moment at the beginning when we go from being in the past into, we flash back to the Paris Opera House in its like heyday, and we go from black and white dusty old house into this, as you say, luxurious, rich, beautiful golds and red velvets of the opera house, and it all sweeps through and the camera moves swooping through the whole opera house, and you see all the people getting ready to perform behind the scenes, and you see all the like gargoyles on the roof and everything. And it's, yeah, that moment is just like etched in my mind as this is what this is about.
It's one of the most exciting film transitions from black and white to colour, I think, after like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And I'm sure film buffs could list me like 10 better versions. But there is that moment when it's at the same time when the chandelier bursts into
light.
With the
little illumination.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you're right. The design, the sets, the costumes of this whole thing is so big budget. It's so splendid that, and this will probably be a continuous theme through our discussion, I wonder if I experienced it the wrong way round, because it meant that I was slightly underwhelmed when I saw it in the West End subsequently.
Right.
And I thought, oh.
Which is super interesting because it's not a universal opinion that is a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, a lot of people would say it's a bad movie if you're comparing it to other movies, and it's not a good adaptation of the musical. And I disagree.
I think those people are wrong.
Yeah.
Frankly.
I can't sit here and tell you it's one of the greatest like movies ever made, but like as an adaptation of what that musical is about and telling the story and the visuals, I think it's like very impressive.
It was Oscar nominated, I'm just gonna say. So it clearly had some. No, I think it's a fantastic film. I think I experienced it in the wrong chronological order to comment on adaptation to screen, because I didn't have this like long-standing love of the stage musical.
Yeah.
In the way that you and I are going to come to the film adaptations for things like Wicked, feeling like if you mess this up, we're going to be so upset.
Or like the Les Mis one, which already came out.
Yes, yes, exactly, because we were like such devotees to the stage show.
Yeah.
But with Phantom, because we thought the movie was sublime, I can't really think.
Yeah, I think in subsequent years, I've probably seen the stage show enough to kind of put myself into, if I was adapting this, would I do things differently? And I'm like, honestly, not really.
No, me neither.
Not really. I think it's great.
I also wonder if I'm a little bit underwhelmed by the stage show because of its age, and that there are productions now that, like, if somebody came to visit London for the day who hadn't really seen musicals and said, what should I see? I would list them 7 other things before I got to, you must see Phantom.
It's been on enough that it's like kind of, you don't need to see it to keep up with what's going on in musicals.
Yeah, and there are productions now that are bigger budget, more inventive, in slightly jazzier theatres that, like, this sounds like I'm being really down on it. I'm not, but Phantom, the musical now in the West End, feels a little tired.
Well, it's been downsized even since. So it's been, the orchestra's been cut and the sets and things have been made much more simple. Only in the last couple of years, I think since COVID. But I get what you're saying about the version of the show that you would have seen, but I do want to point out that at the time, in 1986, it was the biggest show. It was the most visually, like, surprising and dramatic thing anyone had ever seen at the time. The boat with the candles, people couldn't even believe it was possible to do that at the time. It was like, it essentially heralded in the era of the 80s mega musical, where you always had some kind of crazy set piece, like a piece of the set, like the production thing, like the helicopter in Miss Saigon, the barricade in Les Mis, like all of these things. Phantom, the chandelier and the boat were considered these like things that had never been seen on stage before, ever.
I totally get that. And I think if we were 14 in 1986, we'd have seen it like 20 times. We would have gone nuts over it. I can completely see how the staging would have been really innovative. And that's it. The thing is that because we're making this podcast in 2023, it has by this point been completely eclipsed on all those fronts by some other things.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, at the time, the hysteria around this thing in the 80s was madness.
Yeah.
And I think they brought the 2004 film out at just the right time where it captured an audience who just weren't alive at that time. It completely swept me, you, and some of our other friends.
Absolutely.
Totally into its, like, hold.
Okay, so what was it then that really captured your imagination? Apart from the visuals, apart from all the glamour and the, you know, the way it's beautiful, what was it that held you about that story?
So the music is remarkable, and we've got to talk about that in some more depth, but it's probably one of my favourite musical scores.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But it is also the most unashamedly romantic musical possibly ever. And I was, how old were we? We were 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yep, I want it. I need more of this, please. Absolutely more of this. It was so, and it's effectively about a like teenage girl who likes musicals, who
has this like super sexy, like mysterious guy obsessed with her.
Yeah, she starts singing in like shows, and then these like two hot guys fight over her, and I remember thinking, this is great.
Yeah.
This is my kind of narrative that I'm interested in as a teenager. And we should say that you and I were so obsessed with musicals, and that is the original origin story of our own friendship. Comes from literally being in musicals together.
Yeah.
And it never went away. So the minute there was this pairing of an awesome romance story, and we'll get into that in our thermometer category, but the whole thing does have elements of the fantastical, and there's an element of monstrosity to it when we think about the Phantom, that it's not too far away from some of our fantasy material.
Yeah, it fits in because it comes from that book. It fits in with that kind of Victorian novel, kind of Dracula-y, Frankenstein-like monster.
It's gothic.
It's gothic. That's exactly the word. And that makes for, like just a great atmosphere. And it's not just the visuals, it's also the content of the story is totally that obsessiveness and that kind of fuel for the story being an obsession at the centre of it. It's,
If you boil some of the essential plot points of Phantom of the Opera down, you could be reading out the narrative structure of like a Sarah J. Maas book, or many of the other things that we like. It's like slightly naive teenage girl becomes the point of obsession for slightly older, dark, dangerous, sexy men.
Yeah.
Now, hang on. I wonder if we've talked about a similar kind of plot before.
Yeah.
And it was that.
And I do wonder, sometimes we end up talking about these things, especially when we're like looking back on them, and you're like, God, that's like, you know, the Phantom is not a good guy, and the obsession is not healthy, and he's way older. And you can look at it through this lens of like, oh, well, now looking back, it's like, this is such a problematic relationship. And yet, like, it didn't matter to us then. And I don't think it matters to us now. This kind of like, is this healthy, or would this be healthy in real life? I think gets like brought up too much in conversations about, you know, older films or shows or books. And it's almost like, yes, of course, in real life, we wouldn't like go out with a literal murderer. But like, the point of the story is like, as you say, the romance, the gothic, the themes, the like being swept up in it. It's not about the realism of whether this is healthy or unhealthy. It's I don't know.
When we talk about this show, I just become a Phantom apologist. Like, you're completely right. I have no time for the kind of retrospective analysis where we say, ooh, this must have been before Me Too, because this is really about somebody younger being sexually taken advantage of, and the Phantom certainly does do X, Y, and Z, and he has this red flag and that red flag, and I'm just like, this list is engaging me more with the...
But it's like irrelevant. It's like there are like, you're not trying to tell a story about real life. You're trying to tell a
fantasy
bigger story.
escapism.
Fantasy, yeah, exactly.
It is set in the real world because it's set in the
Sure.
Paris Opera House,
Yes.
but it is effectively drawing on this myth
yeah.
of a man/monster, and that duality is played within the lyrics all the time. I think Phantom even refers to himself as both.
Yes.
The man or the monster. And that is such a popular and captivating male character trait for your like lead male role, or it's one that you and I like. And seems to be shared by a lot of the male characters that we're into.
I mean, you talk about us being obsessed with it. There was as much obsession in teenage girls around the world in the 80s and also in the noughties with the film. I mean, this spawned fan fiction and all like obsessiveness from a whole generation of mostly musical theatre nerds, but like it was not just us that felt that same way.
No way, exactly. I think it's universally agreed that the Phantom is like the number one sex symbol of musical theatre. I would put that up there.
Can't think of a better one. Don't think so anyway. Not
Oh my
immediately.
gosh, we'll have to do that as like a coffee break episode. I'll think of one in like 10 minutes and
I know.
like, oh my gosh, it's so and so. But yes, the narrative manages to allow you to believe in and root for the Christine and Phantom relationship, despite the presence of extremely lovely, safe, green flag, rich Raoul, the Vicomte de Chanier.
Attractive. Like he's all, there's nothing
Nothing wrong with him.
against Raoul.
No, he seems lovely.
He's just not the Phantom.
He's supportive of Christine's career.
Yeah.
He comes to see her in the dressing room, but by that point, you and I are like, get out. Leave.
So
You're
she
in
can
the
go to
way.
Phantom's lair.
We just want to get to the lair.
Yeah.
I think Raoul even says something like, let's go to dinner. And you and I are watching it like, no,
No.
we're busy. Sorry. She has other plans.
I need to have my music lesson in the creepy lair.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let's talk about the lair.
Oh, God.
Because that is also one of the you were referencing the film transition, like the sequence when we flip from black and white at the start to colour when we start to see the interior of the opera house.
Yeah.
But then we get the famous sequence accompanied by the dun 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 dun,
Yes.
the Phantom of the Opera song, where we are introduced to the Phantom for the first time and he and Christine descend into his lair.
Yeah.
That is one of the most captivating sequences, I think, in the film, or in, for me at the time, almost any film.
Oh, yeah. And I think the same is true of the show as well. It is the moment. And it is the mixture of the visual transitions with the music transitions at that point. That is the first time you really switch from what up until then is more like opera, although it's more modern opera, it's more operatic and classical sounding until that moment. And the electric guitars and the drums come in that song, and suddenly you're just like in another world.
Yep, you're like, this is now a different show, and it's been taken up a notch, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, so cool.
That's totally right. And we had that same reaction to it. Like, you and I have listened to this score a billion times, seen this show a lot, watched the movie an embarrassing amount of times.
Yeah.
And then we were watching the DVD of the Royal Albert Hall performance.
Yes.
And just again, it went to that moment. Dun, 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 and we were like, whoa.
It's just so cool.
So cool. It's so cool. But that scene on the kind of gondola and everything about, and this is why I think I love the movie so much, the budget just means that whole sequence plus Phantom's lair just gets the treatment that you could only wish that it would have on stage.
It's in a big scale and visually. Yeah.
Yeah, and we ignore the sort of silliness of things like candles that are lit magically coming out of the water.
Yeah, that's just part of his magic.
I'm like, how's that happening?
You know what? That is one of the themes of the show, and probably, I imagine, the original book that I don't think is really ever resolved, is does the Phantom have any genuine magical ability, power? Is he more than just a human in any way? Or is he just so extremely intelligent that he is able to create these contraptions and these devices that seem magical to Christine and to the audience. But actually, he's just a man and he's misunderstood, and he spent his whole 30 years in a lair learning how to write music and make creepy contraptions.
I like that it's left a little bit ambiguous, but the film does, especially with some of the material it adds, does more on the side of him being a mistreated human being at the start, because we get that retrospective sequence of him having starred in sort of the freak show circus as a child.
Yeah.
Being rescued by Madame Giry. And I think she even says at one point, I can't remember who she's defending him to, but she says he's an architect and an engineer, he's a musician and a magician, and he's all of these things.
And he just styles himself as the opera ghost, and it is useful for him to come across as something supernatural when actually he's not.
Yeah, and it's the suggestion that he has this humanity, particularly in the film, that really makes you root for him and think, come on, Christine, choose him.
Yeah.
Forget Raoul.
I mean, if we're kind of jumping ahead, the whole heart, the centre of the movie for me, in the heart and the musical, is exactly the same moment, is at the end, where he's threatening Raoul, he's captured Christine, he's in the throes of like his evilness because he's been driven to this point, and Christine shows him love that he has literally never felt before by kissing him, and that is what breaks him, like completely breaks him down, and he just lets them go and lets them be free. This whole like character that he's built up is broken because for once she has given him love that he has literally never received from anybody else. And it's that humanity, he realizes his humanity in that moment that has been kind of like taken away from him his whole life.
This musical is so powerful and has so much merit that that's it. It's at an emotional level that I'm not sure what else can kind of match. And the fact that it is a musical, and that it is a musical about operas with a lot of opera music in it, works so well together, because the whole point of opera is that you can have these incredibly heightened emotions put forward on the stage through song. And Phantom almost pushes that as a musical rather than an opera itself, like as far as it can go.
Totally. And like there's a kind of phrase that's used often in when you're talking about writing musical theatre, which is that the way that musicals work is you're speaking, you're just acting, you're in a play until the emotions bubble over so much that you have to sing it. It's like the next level is to sing. And then there's also this idea that the next level after that is the emotions are even so big you can't even sing it, you just dancey, like physically, the emotions come out through you physically. And I think that's what Phantom does. Like, it could not be a play.
No, it couldn't be a play.
Even a play with the opera music. It could not be a play. And it's the exact right example of why musicals are great and why, I mean, to me, I am always more emotionally impacted by things that come with music rather than just kind of straight. Even films are elevated by their music. And so that's why musical theatre is such a powerful medium to me.
The whole thing would be completely wrecked if you removed the music from it.
Yeah,
it wouldn't work. I'd have no interest, no matter how hot you cast the Phantom. I would have no interest in a film version of this that had a script but no score.
No,
not at all.
Although we can bring in our one point of contention between us potentially about the film, which is the casting of Mr. Gerard Butler, who is a wonderful Phantom in acting, but I do have the opinion that he is not a singer. He's not a singer. He's never been a trained singer, and it is slightly a strange choice when you're meant to be acting as like one of the greatest musicians ever alive to be not a good singer. But I do forgive him and I forgive his casting because his acting and his presence and his like embodiment of the character is outstanding. And I think ultimately that's probably more important.
So I think Gerard Butler is sensational as the Phantom. And I will save some of my remarks for one of our categories. But I think his singing is not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not good.
It's not good. And
He's not a good singer.
And maybe this as well is the difference between having seen the film first and the musical later, in that I wasn't expecting that the Phantom had to be this incredibly sophisticated musical theatre voice, almost an opera voice. To me, it was fine that we had sort of slightly gravelly, rocky voice Gerard Butler.
He's trying to teach Christine to sing opera. That's his job.
I was very happy to overlook that. That did not occur to me when I was watching the film.
That is fine. All right. Well, maybe we should move on to some of our categories and potentially talk about. I think this is going to slide nicely into our thermometer of hotness. Where does Phantom of the Opera fall on our thermometer?
So our thermometer categories out of 100 degrees.
Yeah.
I am giving Phantom of the Opera a 75.
Yeah.
Nudging at an 80.
I was going to say 80.
It's hot.
It's so hot.
It's so hot.
It probably definitely one of the things that awoke things in me as I was growing up.
Oh God, yeah.
Like just, it's. I mean, past the point of no return.
Oh my God,
is like the sexiest song and scene and sequence. I mean, it's just erotic tension on stage in front of like thousands of people where they can't really admit to each other who they are, but they both know underneath, and they're just playing out this fantasy. Oh, it's just unbelievable.
The whole thing is about attraction and obsession and sexual tension, and like that's the whole musical.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
This isn't a subsidiary romance plot.
No.
Or something like when we talked about Wicked before, and we were saying that the Fiyero, Elphaba, Glinda love triangle is there, but it's not what's driving the story.
It's not the heart of the show.
It's not the heart of the show. This
it is.
100%. We have the classic love triangle situation. So we have the Phantom of the Opera, and we have Raoul, the Vicomte de Chenier, who kind of has to be there as the very pretty but boring. He is the Orlando Bloom character to Johnny Depp's character.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's the
and
same
I'm sure
thing.
there are some people who were like, I would choose Raoul, but those people are boring.
Yes. Sorry. But I mean, also, like, who watches that show or film and thinks, I choose Raoul? Like, this is not the show for you.
No.
In that case. Like, you watch Cats. Like, pick a different show. Not this one. But it is so unashamedly romantic. And the romance feeds into the design, the costume design, the music, the costumes, everything. But the film had taken any element of what I now understand to be the design of the musical and things and made it sexier and more modern.
Oh, yeah.
So the Phantom's mask and outfit in the stage production, when I went back and saw it, I thought, what on earth is that guy wearing? Because he has the big hat.
Well, they make him much more... the mask is bigger and covers more of his face because more of his face is disfigured, whereas they chose in the film to make him a little less disfigured.
So they cast the extremely exquisite Gerard Butler. And it's almost like there's a tension between the casting and the nature of the film, which is that this guy is supposed to be a disfigured, ugly Phantom.
Yeah, and they didn't really make him ugly.
They tried to cover the smallest possible portion of his beautiful face.
Yeah, that's true.
As they could possibly get away with. Yeah. He's basically wearing this, like, almost extended eye patch.
Yeah.
So the rest of him's exposed. And yeah, that was a...
I think it's also hilarious now because I'm pretty sure everyone who knows Gerard Butler, like, in the world knows him from, like, 300 as this, like, big kind of Spartan guy or whatever he is in that film. That's what people's reference is for Gerard Butler. Whereas to us, Gerard Butler is the Phantom.
It's the Phantom.
It came first.
You're right. He's actually this, like, huge, hunky dude.
Yeah.
He's this almost Hercules.
Whereas we see him as this, like, suave, sexy guy in, like, a cloak.
Yeah, to me, he will be in the open ruffle shirt.
Yes.
With, the cloak swish. Okay, so the Phantom has, if we're talking about the thermometer... Wait, actually, Maddie, what do you give it on the thermometer? We're going 80.
I'm going 80.
Okay. The Phantom has moves.
Yeah.
So many moves. So he has the detachable cloak swish move. Very sexy. He also has the open shirt piano playing look. That's his kind of morning
Sexy
look.
Musician look.
Sexy musician
I'm
look.
working. I'm like, composing. I'm doing cool stuff. I'm like really intelligent and like, it's
Yeah.
great.
He is that, he's that like tortured artist. But and of course he lives in Paris.
Yes.
Classic. But Gerard Butler was so attractive and plays the Phantom, like plays into that to the maximum. And he has genuine chemistry with Emmy Rossum.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Genuine
I think
chemistry.
I think they were great, and I also think Emmy Rossum is really great in that part too.
Yeah.
She really she is an excellent singer, and you obviously need to be for Christine. You've got to be an opera singer basically, and Emmy Rossum is that. And she has the perfect level of the naivety, but the curiosity, and then excitement with the Phantom that ultimately she's kind of battling between being scared and excited, and it's great.
Emmy Rossum is fantastic in that film, I think. And we learned earlier that Anne Hathaway was originally cast, and we were both saying, no, actually, do you know, I'm glad that I think her schedule conflicted with the Princess Diaries too.
Yeah.
And it went to like pretty much unknown. I think Emmy Rossum was a teenager when she filmed it.
Oh yeah, she was really young.
She was really young,
Yeah.
which works for the part of Christine. She wasn't cast so young that it was almost unbearable. Like, you couldn't watch her interact with these more adult characters. But she manages to have that kind of naivety, and she gets the perfect balance between you genuinely believe enough of her childish infatuation with Raoul. Mm-hmm. And Patrick Wilson is not hateable. I like,
No.
that Raoul is lovely and he does such a commendable job, Patrick Wilson, as him, that you can sort of see why Christine gives him the time of day. Mm. But then she also, but her facial expressions playing opposite Gerard Butler are amazing.
Yeah.
You watch her in those scenes and you think, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And the direction has completely sexed up the interaction with them in Music of the Night.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Phenomenal scene between those guys.
Yeah, agreed.
So good.
I mean, any moment where they're physically close to each other is charged.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because when you watch it closely, they barely touch each other. That's what's amazing about it. He's wearing gloves almost all of the time. Anytime she goes to touch his face or his mask, he freaks out.
Yes.
So all of the choreography about it is about permitted touch, unpermitted touch. Like if you watch the choreography of that scene, he guides her hand to touch his face at one point or not.
He's moving her.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, I'm prepared to completely overlook the fact that he's constructed a life-size doll of her as his bride. So,
is that a construction for the film? I feel like that's not in the show.
I feel like that's not in the show. And
I
it's
don't
fine.
remember.
I'm going to overlook.
It's kind of weird. It's all right. All right, then how about the badassness? You mentioned the cape swish.
Oh, yeah.
Is there more badassness? If we're doing a kind of badassness out of 10, where 10 is epic battles, where are we sitting here?
It's like out of 4.
Yeah.
But so this isn't an action film or an action show, but the notion of the character of the Phantom is badass anyway. We've talked about how he completely has engineered the situation where he's posing as an opera ghost.
But he just, like, makes demands of the owners of the opera house, and, like, he's just created this character that can do basically whatever it wants to do.
Yeah, they pay him a salary.
Yeah.
Just to, like, not spook them
He,
occasionally.
like, writes a show, he writes an opera, and is like, you must put this on, and they're, like, so terrified that they have to do it.
Yeah, his demand's like, box 5 must be kept empty for my use. It's just amazing.
And he does do some actual murdering, too. He is, yeah.
Yeah,
He's dangerous.
He becomes a real scary guy, right?
Yeah.
He does have a proclivity for horrible murders. Yes, we can't quite overlook that part.
But as you said earlier about the kind of understanding the background of this man/monster, we understand where he's come from. And I think that's another point, is that, like, this is not about excusing bad behavior. This is about genuinely, like, understanding that when you discard people from society and treat them as a monster, then they will become that.
That's who they become. That's right.
Yeah.
And he has the capacity to love more intensely than kind of any other character. Like his genuine kind of like the depth of feeling he has for Christine is, I think, offset against his slightly more psychopathic.
Yeah, and that love is always going to come out in an obsessive way, because he's never had good experiences of love and good examples of love in his life. Where would he ever have learned what's right and what's wrong?
But in terms of the badass
Back
scale,
to the badass.
back to the badass scale, the film makes these wonderful additions. So you do get the Ral versus Phantom fencing scene.
Sword fight.
You get a proper sword fight.
Yeah.
In the snow. It's beautifully shot. It's in the graveyard. So we've had Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again. The slightly more sedate song in the musical. And then you're like, right, we're right back in the action.
Yes, it brings you back into into drama again, which is nice.
And the fight scene's not bad. Like, it's pretty well choreographed between the two of them. But a lot of the badass stuff comes from the way the Phantom has created he has the whole opera house completely rigged. Yeah. So there's trapdoors, secret lairs. Do you remember, he always captures Ral in some kind of, like, secret mirror room.
Lasso thing.
He's got the lasso thing.
Yeah. Not sure that's the coolest thing, but it'll do.
He's got gadgets, we should say.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think this is badass in, like, a medium to low way, but it is badass.
Yeah, he's like an operatic James Bond, but with a very limited budget.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's move on then to our tank of obsession fuel. How full is it?
Oh, God. I'm going to give it, like, 3/5 full. And I know that's a really random fraction.
60%, that's reasonable.
Yeah, 60%. This isn't the kind of thing that consumed our lives forever in the way that, like, Lord of the Rings that we just talked about did. And I don't think either you or I have bothered to read the Gaston Leroux novel of 1910.
I think I probably tried.
Yeah.
I have it.
I have it. The intention was there.
The intention was there and it didn't really pan out.
I think I was hoping, wrongly, for, like, Gerard Butler on the cover.
Yeah.
And then I thought, why would he be there?
Yeah.
Like, surely they've, Penguin or something, have rebranded the covers.
I mean, it does happen.
Yeah, it does happen. But no, so couldn't get a lot out of that. But from the minute of seeing this film, it became a homework diary cover of that year. I think battling it out with, I still had Johnny Depp on there as Jack Sparrow, and, like, you know, Aragorn was all the inner pages. So I had to make room for Phantom somewhere.
Yeah.
But he certainly joined, and this certainly joined the discussion topic, like, or the discussion roster.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe it didn't last as long, but I think when it was burning, it burnt very bright. And I think the one way in which I think I kind of fueled my obsession was through the soundtrack and listening to the soundtrack over and over and over. I mean, we've talked about, you know, CDs and the little portable CD players on the bus on the way to some school trip, and we'd share our earphones. I'm pretty certain Phantom was one of the top listened to CDs that we had in our little flip books. And I could still sing through the whole show, basically, from start to finish. The lyrics and the music are so catchy, and also we listened to it so much that I could absolutely sing every line.
This is what we discovered when we watched it the other day at the Royal Lab, a whole version. We were like, oh my God, we know the whole thing.
Yeah.
And to the extent where you and I can note the lyric deviation from where the film has made a slightly different, because they rewrote some of the lyrics in the film. There was slight adaptations were made.
I don't know when
different.
Exactly those lyric changes were made, whether they were made for the film or sometimes things get changed like in the show at different times over the years if they just want to tweak something. But yes, we absolutely could. We were like, oh, that's a different rhyme.
But it also hit us at such an important time, because we had finished our December kind of carousel of each December had a Lord of the Rings release. So 2001, 2002, 2003, every December was Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And so thank God that December 2004 had something like this to offer.
Yeah.
Because I must have been sort of strolling around in the wilderness.
Well, you would have
thinking,
still been waiting for the Harry
gonna...
Potter movie of the year.
Yeah, for slightly different reasons. From like this fulfilled my I knew I wasn't going to get Aragorn again this December, so there was a seat empty in the table of my heart.
So perhaps this fuel tank was very full but burnt through very quickly.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there wasn't really. I mean, I was just going to say there aren't like sequels or anything, but there is, and we just can't. We just won't. We just won't get into it.
And there are all sorts of people that have written stuff to like follow up and fan fiction I mentioned earlier. There is masses of stuff, but I'm not sure it quite was enough.
But it did lead into it. Was like the forerunner of. This predates what then became our enormous obsession with like paranormal romance.
Yeah.
Which is Twilight,
Ongoing.
which is teenage girl falls in love with strange, mysterious semi-monster. It's like, now hang on, that's then what we spent the next 15 years consuming as literature.
Oh, did.
And it also came at a time when we had gone back to doing a lot of musicals outside of school. We were doing that as our kind of extracurricular thing.
Yeah. Doing Les Mis about that time, didn't we?
100%.
Probably the year before.
We were doing like things like We Will Rock You and Jesus Christ Superstar. And we were really musical obsessed at that point, to the extent where we put on our own musical showcase at school. And we were like, Phantom of the Opera has to be in it. And do you remember we actually had the title song? Two of our friends
that would have
performed
been
Phantom of the Opera.
That would have been 2 years later, or less than 2 years later, honestly. Yeah.
And we were designing like what is going to go in this musical variety performance. And I'm sure the first thing we will have written down was Phantom of the Opera.
Which is crazy, because none of those songs are easy to sing. So we needed to find people who could sing much better than us.
To my mind, this musical variety performance that we did at the time was like the height of like brilliant school performances. And then like if you go back and now watch the DVD, I'm amazed anybody said that.
Oh, I don't know. I think there's still some great moments. I think it's still great.
I remember thinking, this is really good stuff. And then now thinking, oh my God, I can't believe we split our parents to it. But finally, on the obsession fuel, I would also like to suggest that Phantom of the Opera and our obsession with music, it has that slight rocky element that's also pushed forward in the film, and with a kind of dark, dangerous male singer. Like, Phantom is an emo. And 2004 was really where we're starting to get the era of emo.
It's right.
And we have not done a podcast on this yet, but you and I were obsessed with that kind of music. And we loved Jared Leto and Gerard Way and all of the music coming out at that, that kind of mid-2000s emo moment. So, sort of Phantom and its whole... It's an emo
It all
musical.
connects, doesn't it? It all connects.
All coming together. You can see why we do this podcast.
All right, then, let's end, before we finish, with what you consider to be the USP of Phantom of the Opera, the iconic moment or thing or visual or music.
Okay, so most people think the kind of symbolic image from Phantom is the music box of the monkey playing the cymbals. But it's not for me. I don't care about the music box. I'm like, oh yeah, the music box. I forget it. And every time I watch the film again, I'm like, oh, that music box. But it is the Phantom's red rose that he always gives to Christine with the black velvet bow on it.
Yeah.
And the moment in the film that just crushes me. You talked before about the moment at the end where they kiss and that kind of breaks his spirit. But for me, I can't bear it when it's the end of what would typically be Act 1, but it's the halfway point in the movie where he sees Raoul and Christine walk off sort of in their kind of lover's glow. And he takes out the rose and crumples it into the snow. Do you remember? And the petals fall on the snow. And I remember thinking, I'll have you, don't worry.
And the music there as well. He starts to sing the tune of All I Ask of You with his own lyrics. And he doesn't even finish the line. He just breaks down crying. It's beautifully written. Yeah, you're right. It's
That's
wonderful.
my USP. What is yours?
Oh, we've already mentioned mine. Mine, I think there is nothing bigger and better than the song, The Phantom of the Opera. It is a part of like pop culture. Everyone knows that song, even if they've not seen the show. It's an iconic moment in the musical itself. And it's just huge. And it is one of Andrew Lloyd Webber's like greatest pieces of writing ever.
You are so right, because I can't remember who said it once, but we were talking about like great music or great rock songs or great whatever. And I remember kind of going, dun, 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 dun. And someone said to me, oh, is that White Stripes? I was like, no. It's Andrew Lloyd Webber. But it's a piece of like, it's a series of notes that has that recognition level, but that people associate with must be some kind of iconic rock band or something. Yeah. And I'm like, it's from musical theatre, actually.
Well done, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Well done, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
That's maybe how we can end it, with a thank you to
for
the Lord
giving
Lloyd
this.
Webber.
Thank you, Lord Lloyd Webber, for the joy that you have given us over the years, but specifically with The Phantom of the Opera. You've been listening to the Fangirl Diaries. Follow us on Instagram at Fangirl Diaries Pod.
And do share us with any of your friends that you think might enjoy the podcast, and rate or review us on Spotify or Apple Music.